This year, we want to reach 1,000 ounces. 1,000 ounces. Okay, we all had tasks to complete and dirt to shift. Let's go then. There is an alpha in every wolf pack. Every choice is made with dominance and survival in mind. Parker Schnabel has been the youthful alpha of the Yukon for years, constructing an empire with unparalleled zeal. Parker was therefore faced with a decision when the Beets dynasty's successor, the son of the former alpha, approached him in desperation and begged for a lifeline. Did he demonstrate compassion, or did he establish his authority? Proceed to 105. I don't bargain. I don't really care if you buy it or not. He didn't simply say no to Kevin Beets' request for assistance. In a protracted and acrimonious struggle for dominance of the Klondike, it was a deliberate maneuver. A war in dollars, ounces, and shattered pride, an appeal for assistance in the Klondike. Water may either be a child's greatest ally or their worst enemy in the harsh Yukon environment. It had turned into a nightmare for Kevin Beets, the eldest son of the late great Tony Beets. Mud, not frozen ground or malfunctioning equipment, paralyzed his entire operation at Scribner Creek. His cut had been reduced to a genuine mud pit by an overpowering, soupy, and impassable muck. We're not discussing a small amount of mud. He was unable to operate his multi-tonne rock trucks due to the disastrous slurry flood. He was totally shut down when a brown tide swept over every road and access point. His whole savings had been invested in the goal of mining 1,000 ounces of gold in his first solo season, but it was vanishing before his very eyes. Well, the lack of a water pump here is a little annoying. All it's doing is driving us further and further away from our 1,000 ounces of gold. We will attempt to locate one, but we will close and arrange for people to observe. What no one tells you about gold mining is that the steady, silent reclaiming of the land by nature can occasionally pose a greater threat than a catastrophic failure. Kevin found himself stuck, and he was desperate, to put it frankly. On paper, the solution appeared straightforward. He required a water pump with a large capacity. Then, I have some bad news for you. What is that too? A pump is not available to us. In just a few days, the cut could be drained by a strong dewatering pump, allowing the earth to dry and his trucks to resume rolling. His father, Tony, had promised him a pump, but in the chaotic Beets empire, promises and reality don't often line up. The pump was nowhere to be found when Kevin needed it most. He was losing thousands of dollars in lost income and gold every hour of downtime. You know, just the gasoline and payroll costs for a mining operation of size might exceed $50 per week. That's a mind-blowing factor that keeps you up at night, whether you're sleuthing gold or simply gazing at a muddy pit. Kevin realized he needed to take drastic measures, since his 1,000-ounce gold was starting to look more like a fantasy. He grabbed his radio and dialed the number. Making that call must have been quite challenging, a humble acknowledgement of failure. He wasn't phoning his father or relatives. He had Parker Schnabel on the line. Parker and the Beets clan had been engaged in a bitter rivalry for many years, a complicated partnership based on royalties, property leases, and a never-ending competition to be the best dog in the Klondike. It was like raising a white flag to ask Parker for assistance. Kevin described his dire circumstances in a voicemail. He needed a pump, and he knew Parker would have enough on hand given his enormous, well-run business. He then continued to wait. He received the harshest reaction of all. Nothing. Nothing except icy, piercing silence. In an attempt to locate a Dietering pump, Kevin left me a voicemail. Do you believe you'll be able to assist him, or did I just disregard it? Parker made no attempt to return the call. He chose to disregard it. However, the narrative did not finish there. Parker made a strategic decision to decline. In business, buddies have no place. You have to go back in time to fully comprehend why Parker Schnabel would abandon Kevin Beets to drown in mud. This was not a singular occurrence. It was only one part of a protracted and frequently acrimonious tale involving Parker and the Beets family as a whole. Many people failed to see that these two mining behemoths have a convoluted past in which business always comes first. The most illustrative instance of this occurred shortly before the notorious phone call and concerned a piece of equipment valued at more than $100. Kevin was assembling his own operation in an attempt to become independent, but he was beset by outdated machinery. His production was completely stopped when his vital workhorse, a 20-year-old Afferty rock truck, eventually broke down and abandoned the ghost. With only $100,000 to spend, Kevin went to Parker. It was a sensible step. Parker had a reputation for modernizing his fleet on a regular basis and frequently sold dependable but worn equipment. Parker offered Kevin $110,000 for a used Afferty truck that he had available, $10,000 more than Kevin could afford. Given their long-standing relationship, one might anticipate some leeway or a discount for friends and family, but Parker doesn't work that way. With a direct gaze, he told Kevin, "I don't haggle. There would be no compromise." However, the conditions worsened. Parker made it quite plain that the whole amount was due. Whether it breaks down or not, you still have to pay. I can't have you back out, but I don't have to get paid immediately. The only thing is that, whether it breaks down and becomes worthless or not, you still have to pay. Everything is fine. All right, you're taking it then? Accepting it. 110, 110, well done. You can learn all you need to know about Parker's philosophy from this one transaction. His business does not allow for sentimentality. He does not operate a charity. He is in charge of an empire of gold mining worth millions of dollars. Kevin didn't seem like the son of a longtime friend to him. He was a rival, and every penny mattered. Their relationship is characterized by their brutal business-first mindset. Parker leased land from Tony Beets for many years, giving him a hefty income for each ounce of gold that was extracted from the earth. With Tony refusing to budge, and Parker feeling like he was being squeezed for every dime, these royalty conversations were always acrimonious. Although a lot of people are enamored with the drama on the show, no one tells you that the true rivalries start with these off-camera business transactions. In the end, Parker relocated his entire business to avoid what he perceived to be an unjust arrangement. This decision offered him the freedom he so desperately desired, but it also cost him millions in logistics. Their encounters have always been characterized by an underlying tension brought about by their history of difficult negotiations and financial disagreements. There was more to Parker's refusal to assist Kevin than a simple pump. It had to do with this lengthy history of animosity. He used the opportunity to let his rival son to struggle, a desperate gamble by one individual. Kevin Beets was no ordinary mine boss. He was bearing the burden of one of the most well-known names in the world of gold mining. It's an enormous undertaking to try to escape the shadow of a somebody as well known as Tony Beets. He was under tremendous pressure to succeed and show that he wasn't only following in his father's footsteps. His first season at Scribner Creek as a lone man was crucial for this reason. I imagined being a mine boss would be like this. It is identical to Tony's. I simply don't have anyone to go check with again. He had contributed his life savings, or close to $2 million, to this endeavor. It was his opportunity to demonstrate to the world, and possibly to his own family, that he could manage a profitable mine according to his own rules. Yet his desire was thwarted from the start by a series of cruel setbacks. The difficulties persisted. He had to deal with ongoing equipment malfunctions, such as the 30-year-old 10-dozer that broke more often than it ran. He had to deal with personnel issues and the persistent sense that he was lagging behind. The strain was further increased by his relationship with his father, Tony. Naturally, Tony had provided him with the chance by renting him the land at a royalty of 10%, but his assistance was frequently accompanied with conditions or was non-existent. Tony's first reaction when Kevin's dozer crashed was a stern lesson in independence. Freebies are no longer available. We all have to learn how to manage ourselves. Even though Tony eventually lent Kevin his enormous 11 dozer, the initial conflict was evident. For Kevin, this dynamic, a combination of business dealings, stern love, and sincere fatherly concern, created a perplexing and demanding atmosphere. He was engaged on two fronts of battle, one to acquire respect in his own family, and another to overcome the harsh Yukon landscape. The thought of working for a family business is quite appealing to many people. Nobody warns you, though, that it might be a golden cage full of unachievable demands. This is the important background to that frantic call to Parker. It was more than just a pump. For Kevin, it was a moment of complete catastrophe. I'm not ready. Here, I kind of blew it. He was having trouble with his procedure. His financial risk was about to blow up in his face. Additionally, his family's support was contingent. He admitted that he had run out of options and that turning to Parker was an act of absolute desperation. Parker wasn't merely refusing to lend out a piece of equipment when he decided to ignore that call. He was king an already downed man. He was adding salt to the wounds of a young supervisor who was struggling to stay in his job. For Parker, it could have been a straightforward business choice, a means of imparting readiness to a rival. However, it was a severe and intimate setback for Kevin, another influential person in his life, declining to assist him when he most needed it. It reaffirmed the harsh Yukon lesson. You really are alone. Was Parker correct? Let's take a step back and consider this from a different perspective. We have witnessed the history of animosity, the drama, and the desperation. However, the crucial question still stands. Was Parker Schnabel at fault? It would be easy to portray Parker as the antagonist, a young man who has already made millions of dollars. Turning down a straightforward request from someone who is on the verge of bankruptcy. It looks utterly needless, icy, and harsh. Just give him the pump, please. It would have been a friendly gesture in a small, close-knit community and would have cost Parker almost nothing. According to this viewpoint, Parker's rejection appears to be a small-minded attempt to insult the son of his former competitor, Tony Beets. He seemed to have decided to let Kevin fail just because he was able to. However, I feel that way about anything on the mine site. Avoiding getting screwed is the main goal of the mining procedure. Many may question if this is the only way the wealthy and successful maintain their position of power by displacing others. However, not everything is as it seems. Let's examine it from Parker's perspective. As a teenager, he began building his entire company from the ground up, learning every lesson the hard way. He is aware that in the Yukon, readiness is crucial. A water pump is not an extravagance. It's among the most important items of equipment that a location or child can possess. Parker believed that it was unacceptable for Kevin, the son of the Klondike monarch, to arrive at his own mine without a well-thought-out plan for managing the water resources. Why should Parker save him from a mistake that shouldn't have been made by a novice miner? Parker's success is based on careful preparation and accountability for every aspect. At least he didn't think he was being mean. He was teaching a difficult lesson. There are no freebies in the Yukon. Why should he then? Nobody warns you that supporting a competitor, even one who is having trouble, could backfire in this high-stakes game. Parker's claims are directly competing with Kevin's mining operations. Parker is unable to extract every ounce of gold that Kevin does. Parker would be directly supporting a competitor in the business world by assisting Kevin in resuming operations. It's a world of ruthlessness. Additionally, miners have a code, but when millions of dollars are at stake, that code frequently disappears. But what if it's more profound than that? The outlandish notions start to emerge at this point. Some people think Parker's rejection had little to do with a single season or pump. Against the Beets dynasty as a whole, it was about the long term. This may sound a little strange, but is Tony really involved with anything besides lending a hand with some equipment and the like? Consider it. Tony's heir apparent is Kevin. Parker is just enhancing his rival's legacy for future generations if he aids Kevin in his success. However, it sends a terrible message if he allows Kevin to fail and fail miserably on his first solo tour. It weakens the Beets operation as a whole for years to come by psychologically harming the next in line. The purpose of this cool strategic chess move is to checkmate a king by eliminating his prince. Then there's the idea that this is all retaliation for some invisible grievance. What if there was more? We are aware of the tight royalty negotiations and the $100,000 rock truck agreement. Imagine a personal betrayal that never made it to the heir or a covert arrangement that went awry. Parker might have been harboring resentment towards Tony for years, simply waiting for the right opportunity to exact revenge. Refusing his son at time of need is the perfect method to offend the arrogant father. According to this perspective, Kevin was merely a poor pawn in a much more ancient and intimate conflict. There's of course one last, more pessimistic theory that is unavoidable. Everything was done for the cameras. Drama is the currency of reality television. Simple deeds of compassion don't make for compelling television. However, a heartless rejection and an unheeded plea might produce a plot of heroes and villains that can support a whole season. So, in this crucial Yukon battle, who was correct? Was Parker giving a competitor a cold, calculating move, or was it a necessary tough love lesson about survival? Please share your thoughts in the comments section below. For further in-depth explorations of the Gold Rush universe, remember to like and subscribe.